Imagine if each morning when you wake up, you're smiling and looking forward to your day, knowing you are happy even while you're dealing with grief and loss. The Grief and Happiness podcast inspires, comforts, and supports you with each new episode. I'm Emily Thoreau-Threat, welcoming you to explore with me your life of endless possibilities. Aloha. I am so excited today to bring you our guest. I forgot to ask you how to say your name. Helsing?
It's Helsing. Yeah, kind of like Van Helsing.
Oh, okay.
That's what I discovered when I got married. Everyone's like, wow, you have such a cool last name. I'm like, who is this Van Helsing? I discovered it after I got married, but now I have to catch up on all the movies.
Yeah. So it's Caroline.
Yes, Helsing.
Van Helsing.
Yes, Caroline Nadine Helsing. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Did I say Van?
No, you didn't. No, you're good.
That's
not
funny.
Van Helsing. It's Helsing.
Okay.
Don't want to confuse anyone.
This is going to be an amusing podcast today. It's about grief and happiness, so we're just real happy.
Yeah.
And she's the author of the book Unapologetic about her mom, who was an amazing person. And Caroline's writing is just beautiful. So I'm looking forward to talking to her and having her inspire you maybe with writing about your loved one, because it really can be really therapeutic. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have to absolutely agree with you. That was the way that I got through the passing of my mother. We were so close. And I sometimes feel like I personally am better with the written word than the spoken word. I've always journaled, and I immediately just kind of put pen to paper after she passed and just kind of wrote out my feelings and, wrote out stories that I remembered. And then I'll have to just say that I think a little blessing in disguise was we all went into lockdown, this pandemic, and then I had nothing else to focus on. I was like, well, let me just treat this kind of like And I wrote from morning until night. And that's when I knew I was onto something. I just felt like I was in a zone where it's almost like she was writing through me, just stories came out and details came out that if I started that today, I don't even know how I remembered half of the details. It was a very interesting experience, but definitely therapeutic. Yeah.
That's so great. I like that you mentioned about your journaling, how you've always journaled. I would imagine that helped you with the recall of stories and things, because maybe you remember something you wrote down in your journal, or something about writing something down that helps you remember them.
Absolutely. Yeah. The journaling helped. I also was a little bit of a pack rat with keeping her things. I'm very, very sentimental. So I kept a lot of her things, but I'm so glad, because those things inspired stories, and then photographs inspired stories, and then maybe a post or two on like Facebook, like everything. I just kind of went to all avenues to just, in a way, kind of relive what I was feeling, and not that I had to so much because it was still so fresh for me, but relive stories and memories, from long ago even. So, and then also I had an opportunity to talk to, and get to know my father in a deeper way, because I kind of would, I would call him on, say, Mother's Day when I had no one else to call. And, we would just get into a conversation about my mom, and I was impressed at all the things that he remembered too, with regard to like, how they met, and that's how I knew she was wearing a pink dress. That's how I knew, you know what I mean? Like, it was all, I tried to find it as authentically as I could. And, he remembered those things. So it was cool because it brought us even closer. He, as you know, from reading the book, he was very much, they were very different, but somehow they worked. She was very gregarious, and, when she walked in the room, you knew, and, my father is very, subdued, and, I think he was sort of the grounding force for her, but yeah, very, very private, and, didn't share his feelings a lot. And And then we got a lot closer. I mean, it's the first time I saw him cry was when she went into hospice. First time I ever saw my father cry. And it's still heartbreaking when I think about it. But yeah, I mean, I think just building or tearing those walls down and kind of showing how vulnerable you are can really bring people closer to you, together, to each other.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, because sometimes, or much of the time, we get so busy dealing with our daily lives that we don't take time to remember the stories and think about the really beautiful things that happened, or amazing things, or fun things. Your mom is definitely fun. I just kept wondering what she was going to do next. And she was so brave.
Me too. She was brave. Yeah, very brave. And in a time that maybe didn't celebrate that. So she was very much her own person. And like the title said, unapologetic, unapologetically herself, for sure. But, and I will say too, just in that with the pandemic and everything, when with me just sitting and writing and sitting alone with, a lot of people were just kind of alone with their thoughts, and I mean, and I had the luxury to be able to just focus 100% on her. And I feel like that helped me grieve in a very full way. I wasn't trying to push anything down or replace, so I didn't think about it. I mean, I thought about it. I cried as I wrote the words. You know what I mean? Like, I felt every emotion. And I was lucky that I actually had a writing group as well to kind of help me kind of stay accountable. And that it all fell into place in just weird way. I had taken a writing course earlier, let's see, it was, November, December of 2019. And as you do, you befriend people. And then when the class is over, you're like, oh, I'm going to miss you. Let's see if we can keep this going. And so I was approached by one of the girls. She's like, I really like your writing. I'd love to do a writer's group with you. And I was like, oh, I feel the same way. Yeah. I was the only one that didn't live in Los Angeles. This class was in LA. So I was the only one that had to drive up there, but I was happy to do it. And we met for a few weeks, and then everything just, changed. And I will have to say I was very grateful that we turned it to Zoom, because I didn't have to make those drives up to LA. But that definitely kind of helped me also keep myself accountable, because I felt like, someone was waiting for something new for me to submit. And then even just talking to them about the stories, that helped me. It was like I created this community to share my grief in under the guise, so to speak, of writing a story, if that makes sense. I mean, they were very much an unexpected part of my healing.
It's amazing how that works, to be able to write in community. I know I'm a writer too. I've taught writing at the university level for many years, and I have written college textbooks on how to write, but I hadn't written something like the book that I wrote now before. This was something different for me. And after I had two husbands die, and after the second one died, I started writing, because that just seemed like what I needed to do. I wasn't writing a book or anything. I was just writing about my thoughts, my experiences, my feelings, what I felt like I needed to do, where was I going to go now, that sort of a thing. And the more I wrote, the better I felt. So I thought I can help other people with this. And so I started a writing group. And we had only moved here to Hawaii 2 years before he died. And so I didn't know a lot of people. So I just put it on Meetup. I said, you want to write through your grief? Come on over to my house. And they did. Yeah. And that writing together was all the difference in the world. It was so helpful. Mm-hmm. The group became really close.
I bet. Yeah. Hey, did you teach at the University of Hawaii, or?
It was when I was in California.
Okay.
I still teach there. I lived in Bakersfield and taught at Cal State University, Bakersfield. And I started teaching there online back in the early 90s before
so
anybody had thought about teaching
you already
online.
had practice then.
Yeah.
You're like, this is old hat.
No, yeah. So after I retired, it was easy for them to just keep hiring me back.
Yeah,
so I'm still teaching. I've got 2 classes right now.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I know, because I took writing courses at the University of Hawaii. So I was very excited to talk with you because we're both from Hawaii. Well, I'm from Hawaii, but you live in Hawaii now. And I felt like we had a bit in common with the people we knew. And I love that. I love how the universe kind of puts you together like that. And it's a small world.
That happens a lot, that small world thing. You would say things in what you were writing, and I'd go, oh, I know who that is, or I know where that is, or, I have this experience. And I was relating. I was surprised how much I related to the things in there, but you wrote them so beautifully and specifically. I can give you an example about the Plaza Hotel.
Oh, okay.
Because when many, many years ago, when I was in college to start off with, I took a writing class, and I was scared to death to take it because I didn't know how to write, didn't think I could do it. And it was in San Diego. And my teacher came in one day and he said, I just got to tell you what happened. He said, last night, my editor for my new book took me out to dinner at Mr. A's, which was the restaurant in San Diego at the time on the top of the Bank of America building. And they celebrated his contract for his new book. And when he told that story, I said, I'm going to do that someday. My publisher's going to take me out to celebrate my new book.
You put it out there.
Put it out there. And years later, when I was sitting in the I think it's called that's the wrong room, the Oak Room in the Plaza. Yes. With my husband, who also was an author, and we both worked for Prentice Hall. And we were with our 2 editors. He had one and I had another one because we were in different fields. And we were sitting at the Plaza celebrating me signing the contract of my next book. And because I'd already written one, and I thought, wow, I remember when Mr. Yarber came into class and I said, I'm going to do this. And here I am.
And here I am. It's happening.
Places. Yeah.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I'm glad that brought back some memories for you.
Yeah. It was really neat. And there were little things you talk about, places and how you did things and how she did things. And a lot of the names you mentioned. And my other husband, Jacques, his mom was an executive secretary for MGM.
Okay.
Back in the heyday. So I had lots of pictures of all the stars and all her memories that she'd tell us about. And as you were talking about different people that your mom met or knew, I thought, oh, well, Mary knew her.
Oh, I love that.
So it was just really fun through the whole thing that I kind of was reliving some of my memories as I was reading your memories. And I thought that's a really healthy way to grieve too.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. How about the part of them first coming to Hawaii from the mainland and that experience?
I can relate to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you can.
Yeah, because I was shocked to move to Hawaii myself. I'd always lived in California, and my husband had lived in Hawaii many years before I met him. Okay. And when he realized the direction his health was going, he said, I really would like to be in Maui.
Yeah.
And we'd come here on our honeymoon and come here frequently because he still had friends here. And I never saw Maui as a tourist because with him, it was like being here with a local.
That makes sense.
And for those of you who haven't lived in Hawaii, that's a big difference.
Yeah, it is. Especially for a light-haired haole.
Haole, yes.
Oh my God.
That's for sure. But we just fit right in, and
I love that.
It was so easily made friends. Ohana is a word for family in Hawaii. And I felt like I had almost an immediate ohana with his old friends and then the new friends that we met right away. I have never in my life lived in a neighborhood like the neighborhood I live here. It's people, we walk in and out of each other's houses. If we make something great recipe, we have to share it with our neighbors.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of miss that. I mean, moving straight from Hawaii to LA, it was a very different. And I remember going back home to visit when my family still lived there. I would go for like a month or so at a time in December when things were slow up there. And I remember the first few days, it just took me a second to kind of like get used to it. People were so friendly and smiley. I'm like, do I have something in my face? Like, what, like, what's your intention? Like, it just took a second. And it's just so lovely though, just to live like you said, like that. I remember that, people coming into your house, friends, neighbors, everybody. I like it. It's cool.
Yeah.
So now I still live in California, but it's a little bit more of a community that's very similar to that. So
that's wonderful. Yeah. There's just something I always wanted to have, neighbors that I could be real friends with. I always call them friends by proximity, because we would get to know each other because we lived close, but it's not that we had anything in common or that we were really friends. Where here we're like really family, not just friends.
That's so important, especially if you've lost, family.
Yeah.
So your friends become family.
They really do. It's actually, when we came over, Ron had gotten really sick right before we moved, with ICU and really bad stuff. And I thought, we're not going to be able to do this. And I was in the position where we had our house there was like at least 3 times as big as our house here. And I had lots of stuff to pack and to get rid of. And I was trying to do it all myself because he couldn't help at all. And people started coming over to help. I didn't put the word out. People just heard what was going on. I had people drive. I was in Ventura. I had people drive up from LA to help me, just come up and spend the day, and different people that I didn't know that well.
Yeah.
And Ron and I had taught a class together called Calling in the One to find your soulmate. And one of the girls that was in the class heard about what was going on. So she came over and she kept coming back to help pack. We were having great conversations and she was really enjoying it. And one day she said, I want to move to Maui. And I said, well, we've got we call them ohanas, but a cottage on our property that's 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. It's got an ocean view. It's a really kind of a cool place to be. And you're on my property. So we would be, you'd know somebody when you got here.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I'll think about it. And then later that afternoon, she went out to where my husband had an office out behind our house. And she went out there to help him pack. And she said, I want to move to Hawaii. And he said, well, we have this on our property. We have this ohana that's got it was the exact same thing. We both had the same response.
Oh my goodness.
She took that as a sign and she moved over here.
Yeah. I love
she
that.
moved into our ohana. She was there for several years before she's moved to a different place now. But I absolutely loved having her there. And she calls me her ohana mama.
Oh, yeah. Or your auntie. There's a lot of aunties.
Yeah, there's lots of aunties. Everybody's an auntie or an uncle.
Yeah.
So, but I really like being her ohana mama. And she introduced me to a guy that she knows that comes over here frequently to travel. And he calls me his ohana mama too. Okay, I'll be everybody's ohana mama.
Yeah,
that's
I'll
cool.
take it. I'll take it. Oh my gosh. Well, that's definitely a sign of love.
Oh yeah, it is. That's what the aloha of Hawaii is all about.
Truly
so
is.
That love just flowed through your book. What a beautiful relationship you had with your mom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, mother-daughter relationships are unique though. It's not like we had our moments, of course. And I think that's why the end, when literally her last words we said to each other was that we loved each other, and that I really, it's like it landed, those words just landed. I said, I love you. And she said, I know you do. And she said the same. And I said, I know you do. The I know you do was the biggest gift, because for me sitting and thinking back to, the stupid things, like the fights or whatever. And it's like, I don't have a doubt, because she said, I know you do. And it just entered my soul. And I took it, and vice versa. And so, yeah, that was probably the biggest gift I could have ever gotten.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Just wonderful. I liked all the humor in your book too. It just, I found myself giggling as I was reading.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Well, that's kind of how I don't know. I feel like it's easier to get through grief. It's not that you're not grieving, but I feel like, you have to find the lightness. Well, like your podcast, grief and happiness, you have to find the happiness in there, and it's there. You just have to dig it out sometimes when you're in the ruts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could just see your mom looking back at you and smiling, and that's how I want to be remembered.
Yeah, I love it.
Really
I hope
cool.
So. Thank you. Thank you.
I know. I've thought about that with my husband, Jacques, a lot, because he was such a happy guy and he laughed a lot. As a matter of fact, we had a cockatiel that was supposed to learn how to talk, and he didn't, but he could do my husband's laugh. It sounded exactly like him, like it was a recording of it. So a lot of times I'd hear him and I'd think, oh, Jacques got home, and it wasn't, it was the bird.
Oh, that is so cool.
But he laughed so much that's what the bird picked up. That's what he heard most frequently. And it was really cool to have that laughter there all the time.
Was that, so that laughter was there even after he passed because you still had the bird? And animals are just amazing.
Yeah.
I know with having my dog Daisy with me the whole time, they're just whatever, if it's a bird or a dog or a cat, they just provide so much love and comfort and in unexpected ways, a bird having the same laugh is sure enough.
Yeah, we had, and Ron and I would go out and sit on our lanai every day. That's where he spent most of the 2 years that he did here when he wasn't in the hospital. And it's so beautiful. We live, I don't know if you know where Pukalani is, but we're on the side of Haleakala, the volcano, so that we can see both sides of the island from where we are. And it's beautiful. The property goes downhill because we're like at the top. And since it's the side of a mountain, it slopes down. So we're looking out over this big space with these big, beautiful trees. And those trees are filled with birds, all different kinds of birds.
That's the best.
And so those birds, every day when we'd go out there, we'd sit and listen to the birds. And that was, and now when I go out there and hear it, or I frequently work out there, just take my computer out. And if I'm online with somebody, they'll go, do you have birds? There's so many of them. You hear the birds all the time. And to me, it's just this reminder of the peace and happiness that we shared, where we were just sitting outside. Didn't have to be doing a whole lot besides just being in each other's presence and in the moment and listening to those gorgeous birds.
Well, sometimes the simple things, the simple memories are the ones that just stay, that mean so much. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's the best sound in the world. I love the bird sounds. And I remember that too in Hawaii in the morning, especially.
Oh, yeah.
How I woke up.
It's amazing. We had stayed at one place when we came over to visit here. It was down in Kihei, which is a lot more crowded. And it was a condo that had a courtyard in the middle of it. And there was a big tree in the courtyard. And at sundown every day, that tree was where the birds had a meeting. And it was so
I love that.
If we closed all the doors and windows, we still couldn't hear each other talk because there were so many of them.
Goodness.
It was so
how
loud.
Funny.
Wow. But, as much as I like the birds, I don't think we need to live here if that's what we get to do every evening at dinner time.
That's funny. That's funny.
They're beautiful, and the animals are just, it's like they have a sense about what's going on.
A sixth sense.
Yeah. They know when it's time to come and curl up in your lap or.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I choose to believe that. Yeah. Did your husband come back to you in any form of a sign or after? Did you have?
Actually, there was one that was not too long ago that was kind of profound for me. I'm doing this thing now called the Grief and Happiness Alliance. It's an online group that meets once a week. And we do writing together and we do happiness practices because I got trained in that so that I can provide that for people and make friends with each other. And it's a really cool thing. And I thought it was a really good idea, but I wasn't sure that people would be interested. So I started a pilot program. to do it, and invited a bunch of people that I knew to do that. And I explained it all to them, and then we did like a sample session. I worked them through it. And when we had our last meeting, I said, my one concern here is that it costs money to do something like this, but I just can't see charging people for this kind of support at a time like this. It just didn't make sense to me. And they said, well, we'll create a nonprofit foundation, and the foundation will support what you're doing. I said, thank you. It's great. So now I can offer that for free. But in the process of it, the very last meeting, there was one woman in the group who was a minister, Reverend Joanna Thompson Gabriel, or Gabriel Thompson. Anyway, she was a wonderful person. And she was always smiley, happy, really great person. And at the end of the meeting, it's like she took on this different persona, and in this big, strong voice, she says, this is an idea whose time has come.
Wow. Okay.
And it kind of blew me away, and it blew everybody else away too. And they said, yes, we're going to do this. And we've gone on and done that. Well, a couple of days later, she died.
Oh my goodness.
The woman who'd said that. And it really kind of blew me away, because she was a very strong supporter of what I was doing. And she had been writing with me for over a year. And I felt very close to her. And so when I am dealing with something, all right, like I felt like I needed to write a letter to Ron to say, am I doing the right thing? I know Rev Joanna said and so I was kind of exploring this on in the letter. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the letter, I heard him say, because I was saying, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? And he said, I already told you on Sunday.
It was like him talking through. Oh, I just got the chills. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was profound.
Wow. I'm like full body chills.
Yeah, it really works. And another way that he comes to me is I write letters to him. I always do it on holidays and anniversaries and that sort of thing. But after I write the letter, I write a letter back to me from him.
Oh, lovely.
And
wow.
I'd suggest you try that with your mom, because
it's amazing. I think what comes to you. Wow. I'm tearing up.
Yeah.
I am tearing up, because I feel like it's like you want to see her, you want to see that person again. You want to see them in your dream. You want to hear something. I thought I had no more tears left. This is insane. And how long? Well, I think I might try that. I love that.
Yeah, do it. And tears will always come, and that's okay. It just shows the love. But I love this letter, and it's the favorite thing in my groups when I do groups, when we do different kinds of letters to our loved one about different things and stuff. And it's their favorite thing. They go, "Can we write a letter today?" Because they look forward, not so much or sometimes they have something they really need to say.
They want to say,
but they also
maybe advice to get. Even, perhaps
they want to hear back. And they've told me, they said, I don't know who's writing those letters back to me, whether it's just my imagination and what I want to hear, or if it is a higher power or who it is. But they said, we don't care.
It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter, because they're wonderful. They're so powerful.
Yeah. That's a very good suggestion. I think I'm always open to new ones. I love that.
Thank you. Well, I'll look forward to hearing what happens when you try
it. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, signs are amazing. Like I love the signs that I had gotten from her too. So I'd written about it at the end of the book, but yeah, just, there was that one time where I just asked it aloud, are you okay? And then remember all of a sudden my iTunes on my television, or on my television, on my computer came on, and that song Cheek to Cheek with Fred Astaire, the I'm in heaven, I'm in heaven. Are you okay? Yeah. And that came on, and then it just stopped. And I didn't touch anything, nothing, just sign after. So she comes in those ways, through music and just interesting.
I think the willingness to be receptive and open to that sort of thing, you'll notice it. Some people just get so focused in
coincidence. It's nothing. Yeah. It was just I bumped. So yeah. No, I think it's a more magical way of living, just to be open to the signs.
And they're there. When Ron and I had really discovered that we were really supposed to be together and that this was it, sort of a thing. It was back when, I can't remember how he recorded it, but somehow he recorded something that he heard, because he said, "This is our song." And I said, "Oh, okay." So he brought it to me, and it was Stevie Wonder's song, "As." I don't know if you know that song. It's amazing. It's really, really cool.
I won't make you sing it.
No, I can't. Not a Stevie Wonder type voice here, but it's beautiful. I suggest you listen to it, because it's really an amazing song. But a couple of months, well, I guess it was maybe last summer, I was in one of the, he died on August 4th, and it was around that time, and I was feeling kind of missing him. And that song started coming on every place. It was on commercials on TV.
Oh my God.
They used it for a background and something that I watched on TV. It was the song in it. And it was just all over the place. And I thought, thank you. I love that. Just love hearing that. And it felt so good. Listen to the song. It's way cool.
Okay, I will after this. Yeah, this is making me think I need to now just think of something that I will tell my loved ones to look for, after I pass. I don't know what it is at this time, but that's really cool. Yeah. The butterfly or something.
Yeah. Butterfly, that's another thing for me that when we were sitting out on the lanai, we have a plant there that the caterpillars really love. So we have amazing butterflies, and Ron would stay out there so much, and he'd be so still because he was just sitting there. He wasn't being real physically active, and they would come and sit on him. They'd light on his head or on his shoulder. And so, and of course that plant's still there. So I still see the butterflies, and I think of them every time. Really? And last year, my sister died on the mainland, and it was during a time that I couldn't go because of the pandemic. And it was kind of frustrating. And I remembered that when Ron died, and we did an ash scattering for him here on the beach, and then we went over afterwards to Agape in Los Angeles. So Michael Beckwith could do he was a friend of Michael, so he could do his service for him.
Love Agape there.
Yeah, Agape is way cool.
Yeah, way cool.
So when we got together on the beach for his ash scattering, I didn't know that many people here because of the circumstances, and I didn't think anybody was going to be there. His daughter and his son came over from the mainland. But people did come. The doctors came, my housekeepers, gardener, all these people, my neighbors. I was so touched by the people that came, and they all brought grocery bags with tropical flowers from their gardens in them that we took out on the canoes with us when we paddled out into the water to spread the ashes and have the flowers go out with the ashes. And it was beautiful.
Wow.
So when my sister died, I thought, I'm just going to do my own little memorial service. And I had a friend offer to drive me, and I picked a bunch of flowers, tropical flowers from my garden. And we went out to La Perouse. I don't know if you know that beach. It's a volcanic rock beach. And it's very beautiful out there. And we went out really early in the morning, so nobody else was there. And the water was so clear because it was during the pandemic. The water here got so clear. Yeah. You wouldn't believe the difference. It was amazing. Wow. And I threw the flowers out, and I was trying to take pictures so I could send them to my nieces. And it looked like the flowers were just lying on the sand because the water was so clear. So
oh my God.
I took some other pictures when the bubbles with the waves coming in were there, so they could see that they were floating above the surface. And I did that. And then I was just standing there for a while, kind of looking out at the ocean. And my friend who drove me came over and tapped me on the shoulder. And I looked at him, and he just pointed down. And I looked down, and on my toe, a butterfly was sitting there.
Oh my gosh.
I was even able to take a picture of it. It just stayed there for a while. And I thought, Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful story.
So, yeah, there's so many things. If you
you're open,
connect the dots, if you're open to them, they're there. And when you realize how those things would be connected, it just is so special.
Yeah. It still keeps you close with those that passed. I feel like it's just their way of saying hi.
Yeah.
Still here. Love you.
Yeah.
Good day.
Yeah. And that feels good. It really does. You can kind of.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of glow in it. It feels really special.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. Well, I have just loved talking to you. This has been fabulous. And I know people are going to want to read your book after they listen to us talk about it because it's so good. It felt like a friend. It's relatively long for books nowadays. And it didn't bother me, because I didn't want it to get over, actually. You kind of feel like you become friends with your mom and with you in the process of reading the book because it's just very special. So
thank you.
I'm going to put the name of the book in my show notes so that you can see how to order it and be able to get your very own copy. And I'm sure you're going to like it. So thank you so much for visiting with me today. This was just wonderful. I feel all bright and happy. And
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. It's been really nice to talk with you as well. Just and get that idea that you gave me. Writing a letter from her. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, please do. I want to hear
when I find
happens.
out. I'm not sure what she's going to say. No, it could be anything.
It could be with your mom. It could be anything.
That is true. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for having me on. And it's nice to be able to just laugh about things, even though the topic isn't always something you wanted, but it's just nice to find some happiness and humor and commiserate with others.
And find the comfort that you found in being able to do this beautiful book.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. Well, to my listeners, I can't wait for you to come join us again next week and do order this book. You're going to love it and have a wonderful week. Do you want more comfort, support, and happiness? Join the Grief and Happiness Alliance. Visit my website at lovingandlivingyourwaythroughgrief.com and read my book, Loving and Living Your Way Through Grief. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, rate it, review it, and binge on all our episodes on grief and happiness. I can't wait to welcome you back to another episode